Greetings, Algebra 3-4. Welcome back to another session with Mrs. Kuhlman. Our first section for today is 7-1a, and we're starting a new chapter called Logarithmic and Exponential Functions. First section, 7-1a, is called Compound Interest. Compound interest is really important when we talk about money in your bank account. Compound interest is interest gained on interest. Now, there are several steps to help us figure out how we find compound interest. Let's go ahead and get these directions down in our notes. To find how much money you have or that you owe, we have to follow a couple of steps. Our first step is to calculate the interest for our first period. That word period means it's a time frame. A period could be 1 year, a period could be a month or a week or several months. It just depends. Okay, step 2 is after we figure out our interest for our first period, we add it to the initial amount of money that we have in our bank account. So I'll let you go ahead and write down step 2. Step 3, then we calculate the interest for our second period. And we continue on with these steps, and I'll show you an example in a minute, and it will help you better understand. Okay, let's talk about that word period before we get started. A period is a period of time, and usually in most story problems, a period of time could mean 1 year, which hopefully you all know is 365 days. A period of time could be 52 weeks, which is also 1 year. A period of time could also be in months. 12 months also makes 1 year. So you have to make sure that you really read your story problem and notice if they're asking for days, weeks, or months. We have to use the correct number accordingly. Okay, now real quick, before we get into our story problem, I need to talk about percents and decimals. So as we know, or as you should know, percents and decimals, it's common to use 10%. And I want to talk about this for a second. 10% of $44, if I have $44 and I want to take 10% of that, I just take that decimal point and I move it to the left once. So if I take that decimal point, I move it to the left once, that becomes $4.44. If I talk about 20%, 20% is double 10%. So if I know 10% of 44 is 440, 20% is double 10%, so 440 doubled is 880. So 20% of $44 is $880. Now let's talk about 5% because that's also a common percentage that we use in story problems. 5% is half of 10%. We know 10% of $44 is $440, so half of $440 is $2.20. So 5% represents $2.20. Okay, let's do an example for a story problem. Perfect. And our first example talks about Jose. Jose deposited $100 in his bank for 6 months. Notice our period here is in months. If the interest rate is 5%, how much money does he have? Okay, so let's talk about his initial amount that he deposits into his bank is $100. 6 months, that's our period. And the interest rate is 5%. 5% again is half of 10%. Okay, so let's go ahead. Months. Okay, let's pretend we start with January. January, Jose deposits $100. The bank says you get 5% of that $100. So let's take 5% of 100 10% would be $10, so half of that would be $5. Or in your calculator, you can do 100 times 0.05, and that gives us $5. So the bank is going to give you $5 on top of the 100 that is already in there. So I take 100 plus that 5. In February, now I have 105. Remember, the bank gave you $5. You started with 100. So now you're at 105 for February. Now we do 5% again. So in my calculator, I can do 105 times 5%. That's going to give me 525. So now this 525 is what the bank is going to give me for the month of February. I take 525, I add it on to 105. That gives me 110.25. I do that 5% again, and I'm going to continue to do it for 6 months. As I continue to do it for the 6 months, you can see that my final amount is $134.01. So what Jose started with $100, after 6 months of an interest rate of 5%, he now is $134.01, 1 penny. And he didn't even do anything. He didn't do any extra work. That's how interest works. Interest upon interest upon interest is called compound interest, and it's an investment tool that allows you to make more money. All right, Algebra 3-4, thanks for hanging out with me today. Until next time when I show you a shortened version of this long story problem. Thanks.